Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deepsouth Homestead on Porch Time again today. The weather seems to be somewhat cooler than it has been being. Not a bad start to the day. Got some rain in the forecast, but other than that, not a bad start to the day. The morning temps have been a little cooler. That's been a blessing. We've been able to get a little work done on the cabin. That's a blessing. We've had some challenges here in the past week, but God is always good, and we're able to get through those challenges. Porch time today is going to be somewhat serious. I've toyed with doing this porch time for, I'm going to say, for a couple of years, and I just never have been able to do it. But today, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to let you into my life. I've told you a little bit about some of my history, some of the things I've been through, but today we're going to talk about fighting the unseen enemy. And the only reason I'm doing this at this point is there's a lot of people on our YouTube channel that I'm seeing through comments and through emails and through letters and different things like that, that's fighting the same enemy. And I feel like that if I'm transparent about some things, then it may help you all to better deal with some of the things that maybe you're facing. Now, do I have the answers? No. Let's just get that out up front. I do not have all the answers to fighting the unseen enemy, because if I did, I would have the victory 100%. But guys, y'all know that July is it's a bittersweet month for me. And I say that because there's an 8-day period in July that my life changed. I was brought into the world on the 24th of July. That was my birthday. I lost my spouse on the 27th of July, 3 days after my birthday. Wanda and I were married on the 19th of July. So in an 8-day period in July there, my whole life has went from the beginning of my life to the most bitter part of my life to a sweet part of my life. And July is always a challenge for me because I always fight the unseen enemy during this time of the year. And when you lose a spouse, it's different than losing a mom or a dad. I've lost a mom, and it's nothing that even comes close. I mean, I love my mother, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't even come close to losing your spouse, your soulmate. Now, y'all will have to bear with me if I have some problems getting through this, but sometimes it gets difficult. And I know there are those of you out there on our YouTube channel who's lost your spouses, because you've sent me messages talking about how that you've lost your spouse. And for me to have lost my spouse and moved on and remarried and being able to get on with my life as well as I am, I'm not saying I'm really doing good at it, but I'm moving along with my life. I think it would be an injustice, because the Bible says, for those who know to do well and are to do right and don't do it, then it becomes sin to them. And I think by sharing some of these experiences with you, it might be a blessing to you. It may help you through some hard times. I've been a minister. I've been a counselor. I've been a lot of things in my life. I'm an electrician, I'm a plumber, I'm a carpenter, I'm a cabinet builder, I'm a house framer. I'm all these things. But even though I counseled people who dealt with the same exact thing, when it happened to me, I went to counseling myself. And the counselors that I spoke with says, Danny, why are you here? You know everything I'm going to tell you. And I told him, I said, I know, but I was just hoping that something you might say might trigger something that might make a difference in my life, And I went through counseling for quite a while, and godly counseling, not just going to a counselor, but a godly counselor, a minister, who was also a fellow friend of mine. And guys, I mean, after going through a long period of counseling, it did absolutely no good for me because I knew everything he was going to tell me, and it just didn't work. So I went ahead and moved on with my life, and it was not until I had a friend of mine, and she was a distant friend from way back, that I had found on Facebook, and she used to come out to our house when my wife was alive, and we would have Bible study together, her and her husband and everything, and her husband had split up at that time. I didn't have a clue. But I found her, I just ran across her on Facebook, and she said, hey. I said hey to her, and we kind of chit-chatted back and forth a little bit. And I was using some phrases that I wasn't aware of. I kept saying we and us and those kind of phrases when I would talk to her. I'd say, we had done this, and that's because of us, and we're going to this and that. And she just, one day after talking to me for like a week or so, she said, would you just shut up for a moment? And it kind of floored me because I'm like, wow, she's really being rude to me, And she said, Danny, and she just started hollering at me. She said, there is no we, there is no us. It's over. She's not coming back. There's nothing you can do to bring her back. You've got to get over this, and you've got to move on with your life. And as bad as that hurt me, and as upset as I got with her there for a few minutes, I didn't holler at her or anything like that. It just hurt me. But I am one of these kind of people that has an open mind, and we finished talking our conversation, and that night I sat and pondered over that, and I said, she is right. She's never coming back. There's nothing I can do to fix that. I am no longer married to her. I am a single man. I was like a dog that's been in a pen all of his life. And when you let him out, he just runs. He doesn't know what to do because he's never been out of the pen. And at that point in my life, I've been married my whole life, except for when I was young, and I did not know what to do. And my wife that passed away lost 3 children in a car accident, and right before she passed, she gave me a lot of advice. She told me, she says, Danny, you're going to have to make a lot of new friends because your old friends will gradually fade away. And it's not because they don't like you or anything like that. It's just that they don't know what to say when they're around you because they're afraid they will hurt you if they keep saying, remember when you and Debbie used to do this, or remember when we all used to do this, and it'll come to a point that they won't know what to say when they're around you. So rather than putting themselves in that awkward position, most of them will just fade away. And you're going to have to make a whole new group of friends. Now, these people will still be your friend, just not close friends, most of them. Now, she told me, she said there might be an elite 1 or 2 here or there that has experienced something similar to this, and they know what you're going through, and they can hang in there with And you know what? And she says it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a little while. And guys, let me tell you, she was exactly right. Most of the people that were my older close friends did just exactly what she said. And they kind of faded out of the background. Now, they're still friends of mine. And if I see them, we talk and we carry on and everything, but we don't visit each other's houses anymore. We don't spend the weekends doing this or that anymore, anything like that. And I've had to make a complete new group of friends. And that was kind of tough for me, going through that. But at the same time, I knew it had to happen in order to get beyond where I was. Because there are 7 stages to grief. And if you're not careful, it's easy to get bogged down in one of the stages, and you can get locked there for the rest of your life. But it's healthy to progress through the stages. Now, different people's temperaments are different. Different people will progress through the stages at different speeds. Some will move right through one and get bogged down in another, where one will get bogged down in one, and it can go either way based on your personality and how you view life as a whole. And I had gotten very, very angry with God. As a matter of fact, I would scream and holler at God. And someone said, God, I did everything right. We laid hands on them, we anointed, we did organic eating, we done everything we were supposed to do, and yet she still passed. And I stayed very bitter and very angry at God for several years. Well, I kept asking God, where are you? Where are you? Why will you not answer me? And then finally one day God answered me. And he told me, he said, Danny, she was mine long before she was yours. She is my creation, and I have the right to do with her what I wish. You just simply borrowed her for a while. And I put her in your care to care for her for a while. But she's mine. And once I come to that realization, it was a lot easier for me to move out of the anger stage and move on through some of the other stages of grief and be able to work my way on through them. Now, not everybody is going to work through the stages exactly the same. And the crazy thing is, some people just go right through it and have no problem whatsoever, and they will move on with their life. And people look at them and go, well, wow, they never grieved. Well, let me tell you something. No reaction to something is a reaction, because it just tells who you are as a person. I have a particular friend. He's an elderly gentleman who has lost 2 wives and is married to his 3rd one. And I have a friend who has lost 1 wife to breast cancer and has his 2nd wife has breast cancer. So there's no guarantees in life, and everybody has to learn to work their way through these things as best as they can. Now, is there a magic formula for all this? No, there is no magic formulas for anything. The truth of the matter is, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be blunt. You do not get over this. See, that's the thing we have to get in our head. You do not get over it. You learn to live with it. And for the rest of your life, there will be things that happens. There will be people you meet. There will be certain smells. There will be certain things you hear. There will be certain things you see that will trigger, they call them trigger points in your life. And they can take you from being at the most happy time of your life, and they can send you to almost depression in a matter of seconds, or you can be very down and out and see something or hear something or smell something, and it can take you from that bottomless pit, and it can put you on a mountaintop in a matter of seconds. These things can happen. And the enemy that you fight that is unseen is your mind. It's amazing what your mind can do to you. It is amazing what your nerves can do to you as an individual. You can choose to work through something, or you can choose to get bogged down in it and stay there forever and let that become your life. I encourage you to move forward, because that is the healthy thing to do. Does it mean that you have to forget? No. It doesn't mean you have to forget. You can still remember, you can still honor, you can still love, and yet you can move forward with your life. It is very, very difficult to sit down with someone who has just lost a loved one and try to talk to them. It's almost to no avail, really. Because that person has got to get beyond the pain of having just lost before you can actually begin to break through and to work with that person. It usually, if a person's moving through the stages, it can be anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months to 4 months. It just depends on the individual. When I was caring for my wife fought cancer for 6 years, breast cancer, and during that time, the oncologist was always asking how I was doing. And I would always tell him, "Sir, I'm doing fine." He was a good Christian man. He would pray with us before every treatment that she did, all that kind of stuff. And he would tell, I'd tell him, I say, "Sir, I'm doing fine. I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about her." And he says, "Oh, on the contrary, I'm worried about you. She's taken care of, but I'm worried about you." And I said, "I'm okay." And I did this for 6 years. Well, when it come to the point that she was on hospice here at the house, the hospice workers would come in and they would tend to her and they would take care of everything that they needed to do. They were only here for maybe an hour, hour and a half, doing the thing, bathing or doing some things that they did. And then they would come out and they would sit me down and talk to me and they'd say, "Now, how are you doing? Because you're part of our care program too." And I told them, I said, "I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm perfectly fine." And they said, "Danny, the caregivers are the ones who usually end up getting neglected and end up having the greatest physical issue. She's terminal. She's only got a matter of weeks or days left to live. We're going to keep her comfortable. We're going to take care of her. But we're very concerned about you." And it almost would make me angry. And I would say, "Look, you don't worry about me. She's the one you worry about." And they said, "Well, we're going to check on you periodically, see how you doing." And I would always tell them thank you. I would be cordial. And then when my wife passed away, for the first 4 months, I really didn't know what to do with myself, because for 6 years I had been a caregiver. I had tried to run a business, take care of my wife, get her treatments, take care of her at the house, do the cooking, the cleaning, all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, it was just me. And I had so much time on my hands, I didn't know what to do. I wasn't working because I had shut my companies down and was having a few health issues. And I was just like, wow, sure is quiet now. I would go out and I would work in the gardens. I would pick the gardens. I would come in. I would can. And then the anger began to just build and build and build. And I would try to talk to some of my friends, and they didn't know what to tell me. And like I told you, I went through the counseling time, But then something happened to me that's never happened to me before, because I've always been one of these kind of people that loved being by myself. I would take hunting trips and go off and hunt in the wilderness by myself. I would go fishing and stay all night. I would go into the woods and camp by myself. I just loved it. I love nature. I love being out there by myself. I love doing things by myself. And all of a sudden, there was nobody to talk to. People quit coming by. That's one thing that my wife told me before she passed. She said, people will, after a couple of weeks, they'll quit coming by, and the space between people visiting will become longer and longer. And that's exactly what happened. And I found myself just being by myself all the time. And loneliness set in. Something that I had never experienced before was being lonely. And I tried going and talking to people. I tried getting up with some friends. Some of my friends would come over. I'd ask them to come over. We would cook. We would eat and different things like that. And that loneliness was still there. Even though we were all having a good time, I couldn't get past the loneliness. And I was like, what is this? Why do I feel this way? And the end result was, it really wasn't loneliness. It was companionship. And when I went to digging into God's Word, I found out that there are some verses in the Bible. I don't have them right off the top of my head, but and I apologize for that, but there's some verses in the Bible where the Lord speaks about widows and widowers, and He says, there are those that I widow, and yet I'm just going to paraphrase it. Basically, they don't have to remarry because God said, I become their companion. And I'm just paraphrasing that. And yet there are those that will have to remarry because they have to have somebody. And I kept waiting. I said, Lord, am I one of those who is not going to need companionship because I've always loved being by myself? I said, but all of a sudden I feel like I need some companionship. And the Father told me, He said, go ahead and remarry. It's okay. You're free. And really it was at that point that I really got the answers that I needed, and I was able to move on with my life. And not long after that is when Wanda and I had met, and we ended up later on, getting married. But it's okay not to remarry. If you can live without a spouse that you've been married to, and God is your companion, like He said in Scripture, and He meets your needs, and you don't have that loneliness or that lack of companionship that I was lacking, then that's okay. But if you are fighting that loss of companionship, rather than get yourself in trouble, the Bible says it's better to remarry. And that's where I came to. And guys, the unseen enemy is our own mind. Because our own mind can destroy us, or it can make us the most wonderful person in the world. It can make us the most sweet person in the world, or it can make us the most bitter person in the world. Now, the bottom line is this. This is the tough part. Now we're fixing to get tough. You can remarry, but the spouse you marry cannot fix what they didn't break. They may help ease the pain. And I know this sounds hard. They can ease the pain and they can make your life a joy. But it's virtually impossible for that person to fix what they did not break. And sometimes for the spouse, that's very hard for them to understand because they want to fix everything. That was where I was at with my wife when she was with cancer. I wanted to fix her. And as the head of my house, that's my job, to fix things. And I wanted to fix her illness. Well, when I realized at the end I was not going to be able to fix her illness, it really affected me mentally and physically. And as a result, I've learned a tremendous amount from having gone through this. And it's not to say that your spouse, because they can't fix the problem, is not doing everything right, because they can do everything 100% right and not fix what they didn't break. The worst mistake you'll ever make is putting them in a position to replace what you lost. That's not fair to them, and that's not fair to you. You cannot love that person the way you loved your spouse that passed. You will have to have a different kind of love for them than you had for your previous spouse. And I know that may go over your head. I mean, I know that may be that, but I'm telling you from experience that sometimes in life, there are some things that cannot be fixed. And if they can't be fixed, then we have to learn to live with them. There are times that you may run across somebody in your life and they may spark something in you that gives you tremendous joy. And then again, you may run across some people in life, they may say something about someone who's lost someone and kind of make a remark about it, and it might set you on fire instantly, and you're ready to pull their head off their shoulders because you go, you don't have any clue what you're even talking about. And let me tell you something from experience. The worst thing you can ever do to anybody who has lost somebody is to look at them and say, I know how you feel. Because you do not know how they feel. You may know some of how they feel, but you do not know, and I do not know, how they feel. Even though I've lost a spouse, I cannot go to someone who has lost a spouse and say, I know how you feel. I can look at them and I can say, I feel your pain, because I too have lost a spouse. But I can't look at them and say, I know how you feel, because truth of the matter is, I do not know how they feel. These words are hard to hear, because unless you've lost, you have a concept in your mind of what you will do, or what you will say, or how you will act. But I'm here to tell you from experience, even though I was a counselor, even though I talked to people who lost spouses and tried to bring some sort of peace to their life about what happened, in my mind and in my heart, I knew I could not fix it completely. But you yourself have to settle this battle that dwells within you. Or you can choose to make it bitter. That is totally up to you as an individual. Now, I don't think that a person should make a shrine out of their house. of their loved ones. There's nothing wrong if you're the kind of person who loves to have pictures everywhere and that brings peace and joy to your life, then hey, I am all for you, and I tell you to do what you need to do. Me, on the other hand, is just the opposite. I went through and cleaned my house out. I took all the pictures down, I put them away, and I grieve. Now, I will occasionally look at them, and that's perfectly fine because that's who I am. Whichever way you choose to live your life afterwards is your business. Now, I know this video is probably going a little bit long, but this is one of those videos that you cannot rush your way through. You have to work through it piece by piece by piece and not leave out a lot of pieces. So guys, I wanted to let you into a little bit of my life and some of the battles that I fight. I have fought anger, I have fought depression, I have fought all these battles. And so far, the Father has allowed me to come out on the other side and enjoy my life. He's allowed me to find the sun after the storm clouds passed by. And my life has once again become joyful. It's become happy. I'm very content. I'm very blessed. And God has been good to me. He's given me a wonderful wife. He's given me a wonderful life. And as a result, I can do nothing but praise the Father for having done that. And guys, I know Porch Time today has not been what it's usually been, but I felt the need from the Spirit to do this Porch Time today because of so many comments, like I told you in the beginning, and so many emails and letters and stuff like that come in from people who have experienced some of the same things that I've experienced. And I can tell by the words that are used that some people are bogged down in some areas in their life and they need to be able to move forward. And my desire today is that I can encourage you to move forward with your life and be victorious over the unseen enemy. So guys, thank you for watching Porch Time, and thank you so much for subscribing to us. If you want more of this, you can go over and check us out on Patreon. It's $3 a month over there. It's not much. If you don't, it doesn't bother us. But if you like more of what you see here today on Porch Time, we have a chat over there also. Plus, we put up lots of other stuff over there. And we'd be more than happy to have you come over and join us over there. And guys, it's been such a blessing to be able to have all of y'all as subscribers to us that watch our channel and share the journey of life with us here at Deepsouth Homestead. Thank you guys from Deepsouth Homestead.